Before I start this quick thoughts video, I just want to thank the good folks at Disney for giving me all of this awesome money that they just mail to me so that I can totally praise their movie while trashing Batman vs. Superman. Thank you so much, Disney, for this sweet contribution to my livelihood. Hey everybody, Jim here. Well, today here in Michigan, we have been dealing with some of the worst May weather I have ever seen in my entire life. It is freezing cold and it feels like winter came in the middle of May. And because of that, I decided to finally see Captain America Civil War. And that day after, I go to Comic-Con. It's just awesome seeing all the awesome and creative costumes of various people who are just as much into nerd culture as myself, meeting several celebrities, and all around just having a great time with a lot of great people. I went there as my personal favorite comic book character, Rorschach from Watchmen. If you remember my earlier Quick Thoughts video on Batman vs. Superman, you can tell I wasn't a fan and was highly disappointed in the previous Hero vs. Hero movie we got this year. I basically at Comic-Con would go up to everyone who was dressed as Batman and say, "Martha!" and kind of just to see how they react to riff off the dumbest scene ever in that movie. So this one I approached with a little bit of apprehension, kind of worried that we'd get two flops in the whole superhero versus superhero theme we've been getting this year. And thankfully, this movie is so much better in almost every way. Captain America Civil War is a damn good movie, and I enjoy the fact that this conflict in this movie is well developed. You understand the motivations of different characters and an alternating political view that we really do get in our society. We always have been having the debate of where to put the line in the battle of liberty versus security. I myself am very libertarian, so I definitely lean far more on the liberty side of things, but I can kind of understand with threats in the world like ISIS and what have you, why people would lean to the other side. It's all very, very much legitimate. And that's what this movie did pretty well, is different characters all kind of aligned on different sides of this issue, and it felt consistent with the way their characters had been previously portrayed in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. All of that worked. Let me get to where I thought it didn't work a little bit. I kind of had the same problem a little bit with Captain America Winter Soldier. I don't think the Russo brothers are that great at directing action sequences. I mean, there's a lot of big spectacle, a lot of special effects, but the camera movements just seem jumpy, zoomed in too close, changes shots too many times, a little bit shaky. It just doesn't seem very flowing the way I'd really want an action sequence to be. That was a problem. And I feel this movie really could have done its cinematography better. I heard they're doing the next Avengers movie. I kind of hope they improve things before then. That's the one thing that Batman vs. Superman had that this movie didn't, is the fight choreography and cinematography was a little bit better in that movie. But everything else was better here. It took a little bit of a darker tone than many Marvel movies have. Like, a lot of people have been critical of Marvel's Cinematic Universe movies for being too jokey, too lighthearted, and to some extent they have been, but I like that Marvel is going for making their movies fun. In terms of this movie's political message, one thing I wondered is when they talk about the collateral damage of superheroes, why Captain America didn't defend himself. Like, when they mentioned all the damage that happened in New York in the Avengers, I'm wondering why nobody just stood up and said, "Would you have rather us let the alien invasion destroy the planet? Would that have made less collateral damage?" And they talk about people who died in the battle at the end of Age of Ultron. A lot more people would have died had the Avengers not interfered and let Ultron do what he wanted. Ultron's goal there was pretty much world destruction. So, I kind of feel the same thing about when people complain about the level of collateral damage in Man of Steel, for example. I defended that movie there because I'm like, did you want Superman to just stand there and let Zod destroy things? I'm sorry, when there's a big threat, you got to destroy it, regardless of whether there's collateral damage, because there'll be much more collateral damage if you don't deal with that threat. But despite that, I kind of like the idea that the Avengers would want the UN to have, or some other body to have more control over them. basically, or that some of them would feel that's a good idea, because the idea that this mostly American group that travels the world abroad fighting crime, of course, some people would want greater controls over them. But, of course, Captain America makes the very good argument that who are these people who would have control over them, and don't they have their own agendas? Which, of course, they do. That's the real thing. That's like the question, who watches the Watchmen? Right? When you give bigger bodies or higher authorities more control over things, these higher authorities will have their own agenda. So ultimately, you're just surrendering one lack of safety for another. And I thought this movie kind of balanced things well. We get a couple new characters to the Marvel Cinematic Universe here, and both were done very well. We, of course, get Black Panther, and he plays a very big role in this movie, and his role in this movie is very critical. Spider-Man, less so. Both Ant-Man and Spider-Man, let's be honest, you could cut both of them out of this movie and it really wouldn't affect the plot very much. Both were very enjoyable, both had a few really awesome moments, but neither were really necessary for this movie's story. Alright, but despite that, both were very good, and I definitely look forward to the standalone Spider-Man Marvel Cinematic Universe movie we got coming out next year, Homecoming. And I think it can be really awesome, because Tom Holland's Spider-Man really, he behaves like a teenager. It was interesting because he's different than all the others. All the other Avengers are adults. This kid is a teenager. And he talks like a teenager. He acts like a teenager. I was annoyed that people were complaining, oh, why does Spider-Man look young? Because Spider-Man starts out as a teenager. He always has. And this movie gets that right. He's not played by someone in his late 20s like Andrew Garfield was. And Iron Man, particularly, this may be Robert Downey Jr.'s strongest performance as Iron Man, possibly. He really has some great dramatic moments, particularly in the last third of this movie, that I think really hold up well. With this movie, you get good political intrigue that you can debate. You get good action, even if the cinematography ain't the greatest. It's still fun to watch. Still a lot of spectacle, a lot of good action. You get great performances by everyone in the cast. Everyone seems to fit their part. Overall, this movie gets a thumbs up from me. It's not a perfect movie. There were some things I thought could have been done a little bit differently. All right, but despite that, it does exactly what this movie should do, and thus, it is a good movie. How would I rank this in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? I don't know if it would be in my top 5, possibly in my top 5. Certainly better than many other Marvel entries, but not quite their best. But it sets up things well for future entries, and overall, it's a very solid addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I hope continues for a long time. Like, I hope we're all old and gray before the Marvel Cinematic Universe ends. So, overall, give this movie a watch. Alright, well, have a good day, everybody. Thanks for watching my channel, and I should have a new Loudmouth review out before the end of the week. Alright, see you later.